And today we're talking about how a business owner, or man, really almost anything in your life, how you can spend less time doing the things that you don't want to do, so that you have your time back to do the things that you do want to do, right? And this is applicable to really anything, but to do it in business is kind of a master class on how you could do it anywhere, right? So today we're going to pick Sean's brain. I'm super excited about this one. We have never gone this direction before or talked about it, and this is going to be something people would pay a lot of money for, and we're going to give it away for free. But it is how to remove yourself from your business, right? You get into your business because you want to be your own boss. You want to have your own time. You want to make the money that you want, and you're going to be doing it in a business that you know something about or that you love. You start doing that. You have the big idea. You start to execute. Okay, get my LLC together, and I'm going to get my business cards, and I've got some customers. I'm getting some money, and this is awesome. I'm heading towards the direction of paradise. You know, the guy on the laptop on the beach, loving his life, owning his own business. Fast forward 18 months. You're working 60, 70 hours a week. You've got all these things that you need to do. You've got to-do lists. You've got problem childs. Maybe you've hired a few people, and they've left. You've had to rehire. So every time they leave, you have to do more things yourself, back to doing it on your own. And there's no end in sight of you. Where's the laptop on the beach deal, right? Which most business owners, they don't want to be on a laptop on their beach. But the point is that you'd have your time back to go live the life that you want to live. And a lot of people are unclear. They're not sure how to do it. They see it, but they're not sure how to do it. And today we're going to pick Sean's brain because he has done it. He has built seven-figure business, multiple businesses, 6 and 7-figure businesses, and he works 30 minutes an hour. He probably doesn't even actually have to put that time in anymore. He does because, you got to spend some time in your business, right? So we're going to discuss those things today, the key moments and the mindsets and the person he had to become. And the purpose of this is so that you can hear it and do the same things and have the same results, because it's a formula. This is not just because it was Sean. Like, there was things he did that you can do too that would produce the same results. So yeah, we're going to jump into that. Is there anything I missed, Sean, like saying that? Like, does that sum up how it was for
Man,
you?
you pretty much hit the nail right on the head. You can tell we talk a lot behind the scenes, so it's pretty impressive that every time when I was listening to you, I was like, "Hey, that's me. You're talking to me." So the last 10 years that I've been in business, and built multiple businesses, like you said, and man, it was the first 3 to 5 years where it was just kind of like all eyes on me. I feel like I had to email, had to make the phone calls, had to do the advertising, the marketing, had to clean the toilets, had to take out the trash, had to open up the office, close the office, and just saying it is exhausting. And it may work, and it worked for 6 months, 12 months. In my case, like, I was a young lad, I said lad from Scotland.
You've been hanging around me too much.
I know.
It's Scottish. You can be
I
wearing a
was a
kilt
young
on the next episode.
lad. Don't tempt me for a good time. And so I soon realized in my 20s, I was like, oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I have all this time, energy. I have all this time, energy, and effort right now, but I picked my head up in 6 months and 12 months, and I had done the things, that you hear on podcasts and mentors, more so from a mentor. You basically, hey, you need to get yourself to a certain degree, a certain gross revenue in your business, right? So for me, it was, hey, I want to make 60 grand the first year in my business. Okay, well, forward think, backwards plan for 12 months. What do I need to do on a daily basis to make that? What does my activity need to look
Was
like?
that 60 grand overall revenue?
60 grand overall. Yep, gross
Okay.
revenue. And so that was my first year in business. So I was like, okay, I've got to cash flow. I've got to make that 60 grand, right? And these are the activities per my mentor that I need to do: pick up the phone, email, advertise, basically do everything that it takes, right, to grow that business. And I was wearing multiple hats. And so I soon realized about 6 months in, I was at about 40 to 45 grand. I had really stepped on the gas and just working 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day. But then I started seeing progress, and I was like, oh, there's hope. There's belief. I can. So my plan was to hire somebody within that 12 months. And then,
So that right there, that hiring, could you take us back and like what hit you? Like, what made you know that so innately? And this is something me and Sean talk about a lot, is that it's like breathing oxygen to him. Like, he doesn't know some of these things that he's done that are just like gold. And if people could know though systematically, that's how you listening right now can do what it is that he's done. So I'm asking that, like, what was that thought process getting that? Because that's a very logical thing to do if you were like looking back, but at the time you had to deal with, like, you've never hired an employee before. Like, how do you cross that bridge, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a big commitment. Well, because you're making your 45, 60 the goal, you're at 45. Having bringing someone in, you have to pay that person. Where's that revenue coming from? Like, how did you have that conversation with yourself and justify and make it happen?
Yeah, so there was three things, right? So the first thing is I had somebody. Lord works in mysterious ways. Thank the goodness for I had my mentor, right? My mentor was like, "Hey, you need to do this, and here's if you don't hire somebody, then you're going to pick your head up in 12, 18, 24 months and you're going to be doing all the work and you're not going to get to where it is that you want to be." And at that time, like, I didn't know where I just knew I wanted my business to be an asset, right? Which was to pay for the life that I wanted to live. I didn't have that like really honed in on what I wanted that to look like or what it could look like because I was just this new business owner. I just know I wanted to remove myself from the business. So
Mm,
it was all within trial and error. So that was the first thing is reached out to the mentor and said, "Hey," he said, "you need to hire somebody, make 60, shoot for 50 to 60 grand in gross revenue. And then in 12 months, whether you're hitting that or not, you're hiring somebody." So that was the first, it was the mindset. It was like, okay, whether I hit that 60 grand or not, or maybe I made 30 grand, I'm hiring somebody. And
Had your
here's why.
mentor given you a story by chance? I'm just real quick. I'm very curious. Is that what he did? Was that how he was able to tell you?
That's how he did it. That's exactly how he did it. He said, if you want to scale, if you want to grow, if you want to double your income, and see, in our industry, in my business, there was different types of like recognition. We had what's called the $1 million club. So it's $1 million in premium for an insurance agency. And so if you have like if you're in the insurance industry and you're listening to this, like, and you hit the $1 million club, like that's a huge thing.
Big deal.
It's $1 million
Yes.
in premium. So that's a big thing. Most agents don't even hit that, right?
Mm.
And so for me, that's kind of what I had, that North Star, that rabbit, and that's what I was chasing. I was like, okay, so I'm mentor, and I was super like gullible. Like if somebody told me to jump off a cliff, and it would do this for my business, I'd have been like, bigger picture, macro, I'll do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right? I was
And
just
I want to, people listening, I mean, if it's so important what you just said there, you just did it. Most people hear, because what you got was information. Hey, well, you go chat GBT that, you can go Google that right now, and you just get a blueprint of exactly what to do, what you just said. But information is nonsense. If you don't do anything with it, well, and that's most people, everybody has what you just said, but they don't do it. And we'll get to that maybe this episode, maybe some other episode, but you freaking did it. And look at what happens when you do it. And so that's a big key element to what we're talking about here. So he said, so you were saying you would do what anyone told you to do if it was going to get you
yes,
to that North Star. So yeah, keep
100%.
going.
If they would have told me, if they would have said, "Hey, you need to spend X amount," or "Hey," and so this is what he told me. He goes, here was the pivotal moment. He goes, "Hey," because I was let's see, I'm 30, so I was in my 20s. I was in my 20s, and I'd always made 60 grand, 70 grand was the most I'd ever made in my 20s, right? So I was always that kind of, hey, it's in my bank account, it's a paycheck, like this is my money, right? So it's a scarcity mindset. Well, then when he told me, he's like, you're going to make 60 grand in your first business and your gross revenue. Guess what, Sean? That's not your 60 grand. You got to pay the taxes. You got to pay all your expenses, right? Which you already know you've been paying it for the last 6 months. Oh, on top of that, you're going to hire your first employee so you can remove yourself to go do these other things. And guess what? You're going to take a $30,000 pay cut.
Yep.
So at that moment, I was like, all right, cool. So I'm going to make basically $0 this first year, right? And every business owner that listens to this, typically you reinvest that money back into it, and that's what that means. And so for me, he told me, he's like, hey, this is information, and again, focusing on the North Star, like I want my business to uh, be the asset to pay for my living, right? These are the things I need to do. I need to embrace the suck. I need to embrace this journey. And so fortunately for me, it's like once I listened to that and saw the progress, and then so in that time I was like, well, what are some action steps that I need to take? What are some activities that I can do to hire an employee? Because I've never hired anybody before. And so there was two things that weighed on my mind. The first thing is why are you hiring an employee? right? Why are you bringing this person
Mm,
on board, right? And so, and then the second thing is what will this employee allow you to do in the
mm.
business? And so once I
That's the
started
question, eh? What would it allow you to do?
what would it allow me to do? Once I started really taking time to ask myself, oh, well, wait a minute. If I pay somebody $30,000 a year, yes, I'm taking a $30,000 pay cut, but now I can take my business from 60,000 to 100,000 to 120,000, double my business, $500,000 business,
Did that put
triple
butterflies in your stomach when you started to
hundred.
because you'd never, okay, think about it for a second, right? And a lot of people listening, they never allowed themselves to even think about that, because all we know is do. I'm going to do this on my own. I know how
Yes.
to do this. I know how to do that. I'm going to wear all the hats.
Yep.
And then you get to dream, if you could have this person doing all that, the things that
Yes.
you probably don't even like doing, and they love it, creating a
Yes.
space for them to do that,
That.
then you would be able to do what you're good at most of the time. Like, to me, that puts butterflies in my stomach. What was it like for you when that happened?
Oh man, just hear you talking about it puts butterflies in my
Me too, dude. It's so
I'm like,
because it's scalable, it's limitless. Like,
yeah.
you think, well, how does someone get to a billion? Exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Like, on scale.
Yeah, well, and then I learned really quickly because I was all over the place. If you go back, the funny thing is, I haven't deleted a video on in my Facebook group on one of the insurance company page that
So
we're talking
cool.
about. The videos are still in there. There's probably thousands of videos in there. I still have my first video in there. And I remember I followed Gary Vee. So people listening to this, jab, jab, right hook, right? So I read that book, I listened to his audio, and he said, you just need to go on there, make a video, look a fool of yourself, but it doesn't matter. You're day trading attention. I was like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? Because here's the North Star. So I went and did it, made a video, and then I think it was about 6 to 8 months in, made my first video, and it got shared, thousands of views. And because people had saw this guy, right? They felt sorry for me. This guy's an idiot. We know this guy from high school and college. We feel bad for you, bro. We know you're starting your business. We're gonna help you out. But
I love it.
but see, the people that's worth noting, right? You will see the ones that want to help you, and that's
Yeah.
typically your community, your customers, and your family and your friends, right? And
Well, how
so,
did you feel when asking them? Because, and I'll tell you, and I'll tell you this. I don't know if you know this or not, because your personality type is like, well, yeah, you ask people to help you out. Most
yeah,
people are like petrified. That's in fact the dream's over right now. It's done, because you just said, well, you'd have to ask some people to help you out. Some old friends from high school, petrified people. The fear of being rejected or no or looking foolish,
mm,
they can't get their minds past that, and look, it's holding them up from potentially ever having that dream, the dream that you built for yourself, because you wouldn't put those hurdles in the way for yourself.
yeah,
Like, what would you say to someone right now that's like, well, and they're probably justifying in their mind too, like, well, I don't need to do that because I can do it this way. Well, yes, you can do it that way, but the way that gets you, the thing that's going to get you to where you really want to go, is the thing you probably most don't want to do. That where
mm,
you're the most, that you could lose, that pride, the you looking foolish, like you said. That's actually the thing that's going to get them there, and they can't afford to have that because of the ego. How did you do that? That's so huge on the journey to getting out of your business, to work on it, not in it. Is it could be so easily bypassed. What you just said right there is asking some old high school friends, putting yourself on a limb. Like, what is that how did that go down?
man, it brings me back and it helps me reminisce because at that point in time, like it was kind of in that place where I wasn't thinking about, for me, what people thought of me, the judgments. All I was focused on was the bigger picture, the macro, the what I needed to do in this micro moment, in this macro moment. And anything, if people looked, whatever it was, right? Like I would text the CEO, I would text a person that I hadn't talked to in 10 years. Like I didn't care because it was the bigger picture of what I needed to do. I needed to bring on an employee. I needed to bring on an employee because I needed to replace myself so this person can do the phone calls, the emails, the marketing, what they want to do, what they signed on for, so I could go and strive towards the vision, the mission, and the overall what we're trying to do here in the business, right?
Mm,
And so for me, that's what I focused on. And I know for a lot of individuals, it may be hard to grasp, like, oh, video, oh, I don't want to reach out to this person. I can honestly like I've just never struggled with that. You know, it's just
Hmm.
one of those things where I just like I did it because I was told to do this, and if I did it, here's the beautiful thing. I'll say this: if you're one of those individuals that's like, I don't know if I want to text, I don't know if I want to do a video, right? But you know you need to systematically remove yourself from the business so you can go do the things that you enjoy doing, right? Working on the business and not in it. Then use this, use this as a moment where it's like an aha moment. In those times, ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Right? And in those moments, every time that I had a hiccup or there was an obstacle, there was a struggle, I would ask myself, I'm like, what is it that I'm trying to do here? Like, what is my vision for the overall what I'm trying to hire an individual. Okay. Why are you trying to hire an individual? Because I want to replace myself because of the task of the phone calls. I can't keep doing this. It's not sustainable. I won't be able to
Mm,
get to where I want to go in 12 months and 18 months and 24 months. It's only a matter of time before you will throw in the towel. You will quit. Why, Sean? Because the statistics are facts. Most businesses fail within that first year, 3 years, 5 years. Why, Sean? Why do they fail? Right? How are you going to avoid that failure, Sean? Well, then you have to do the things that nobody else is doing. That was my mentality is like, okay, I can go down the road most traveled. What are most business owners doing that are most traveled? They're doing the thing. They're not getting on camera. They're not reaching out to their friends and family and asking for help and looking like idiots, right?
mm,
They're staying underneath the covers and staying warm. They're staying underneath behind the screen and being keyboard warriors. They're not getting
mm.
on video. They're not making themselves look like a fool, right?
Because they're
But
so
what is
afraid. They're so afraid. And you know what's interesting is I think I'm checking myself here, and I'm to supposed to think because there's things that I've done here to help build this that I wouldn't have otherwise done on my own, but I knew what the mission was, like the overall macro of just building something that I see the vision for, and I've done them. And it's probably one of the first times I've ever been like that. And it's because I've heard the whys before, getting clear, and it does not resonate with me. It does not until it does. So, like, if you're hearing and you're like, well, I'm just not like that, every single human being will do the impossible thing that you think you can't do when the circumstances are right.
yes,
It's a fact. It just is. You will do what you need to do to survive or to thrive if the situation is right. So if you don't feel that and you're saying, well, I'm not the person that could do that, you literally have not got the clarity or the big enough purpose or mission or reason behind it.
say
Whichever
that
you're
again
saying, you
right
have
there.
exactly. Yeah, it's the mission. It's the overall. And for you originally, it was the $1 million club, right? And we'll get to that because what you once you got there, and then you're like, well, really, what I wanted was the freedom,
Yeah.
which is where we're going.
Yep.
But it's important for people to hear this because this is the journey that they're going through too, and you can't. And that's what they're going to want too. They do want it now, and they might be so bogged down. That's why we're discussing all these things. But it is possible for you to go out on a limb, and when they do, they just leveled up because you're not that person that didn't anymore. I've felt that myself. I've leveled up many levels up by
Yes.
doing the things that were very uncomfortable. And it's crazy because I've sold over $40 million worth of revenue. That's probably actually over 50 if I was to really calculate it. And there's things I haven't done before, so I'm still afraid of doing them. But as I do them, I become my self esteem. I have this confidence experience, and now I'm able to do them much easier, and it feels fantastic. It feels great,
Yeah.
right? Like to get rid of those fear barriers,
Yeah.
and pushing through. Having someone to help you do that makes you the hero in your story, right? Like, and having a guide, you know. So, man, keep going, man. This is so good. I really think this is we're drilling down on what it's like inside people's heads right now and what they're dealing with in your experience here. So you reached out to people, they helped you get on camera, and this is all just to get your employee,
Yeah.
which is going to help you get outside your business. It's the only way.
Yep. Yeah. So, and that's what I focused on, right? Was where focus goes, energy flows. And for me, it was like, okay, I need to hire somebody. I need to replace myself in doing what, right? Emails, phone calls, showing up to the office, closing down the office. And then once I had my mind set on that, I was like, all right, well, what are some activities like I'd mentioned earlier? And that was reaching out to family and friends. I mean, I remember I remember sending hundreds of text messages out to all my family and friends. And to this day, I still use that tactic because our community has grown, our people are people that have grown. And so people know more about us, right? And honestly, if you want to be the best, right, go hang out with the best. If you want whatever it is, if you want to hire employees, then go learn from somebody that's hired employees. And so that's what I've always learned from. It's like, okay, well, what do they do differently? Well, it's because here's the key ingredient, right? When you hire somebody and you systematically replace yourself and now they're doing the task, now it's not just about, okay, cool, I'm done. I'm going to
Yeah.
remove myself and going to check out. Nope. Good luck, right? You have to now do all the things that come with that, right? Payroll and all the fun stuff. But not only that is they're looking at you as the employer. Now they're looking at you as the leader, the business owner. It's all eyes on you, right? It's like, what's the
Mm.
vision? Where are we going with this?
And
Because
think about that too. It actually helps you tighten up the very business that you started on your own, all the hats that you're
100%.
wearing,
Yes.
because you can't just know it in your own head now. You'd have to actually get it on paper. It's not easy to get it out of your head and onto paper and make it systematical to where someone else could understand it. So by the very process of getting that employee to do the things that you don't want to do, you're really creating processes and procedures, right? So
Yes.
that they can do their job well, knowing what it is that you know, and then them doing it the way that you'd want them to do it. Is that
Yeah,
what you find?
100%. Yeah, you can go on ChatGPT, Google, and type in all these different things like how to create systems and processes. But if you're like me, and I'm sure you are, if you're a business owner, especially 3, 5, 10, or however many years in, typically it's all minutia. It's all gray. It's not one size fits all. It's for different companies. It might be for Amazon. We're a small business, and that's who we're really talking to, right? 5, 10, 15, 20 employees. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, this individual's coming in. What are they good at? What are they not good at? And then over time, creating a checklist, creating training videos. And so I could have seen all that on ChatGPT, not even at the time, because I don't think ChatGPT was a thing, but on Google, all these different things. And it would have still went over my head. The best way to learn, the best way to get a skill set, and I say this to this day, and I tell you all the time, is actually do. Right? You want to
Mhm.
learn how to be on video? You want to learn how to do a podcast? You want to learn how to be a leader for your spouse? You want to learn how to be a leader in your business? Then go do. Right?
Yeah.
You can sit here and be a professor and read the books, listen to the podcast, and study things on Google all day long. But until you actually sit in that role and hire somebody and be a leader and say, yes, I do in your marriage or whatever it may be, until you actually do it and stick with it, you are not going to have the experience that somebody that does, right? And so that's why I'm so big on, like, I want to talk to somebody, I want to listen to somebody that has actually removed their business. I want to
Mm.
actually somebody that's built systems. And the
Yes.
best way they've done that is I learned from the E Myth, Michael E. Gerber, the
Mhm.
entrepreneur myth, talks about entrepreneur, technician, and manager. So when I learned about, like, oh, I'm the technician in the business, meaning I'm doing all the work. Well, how do I systematically remove myself? I need to hire somebody. I need to create little mini soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I need to create mini soldiers. I need to hire. I need to put myself out there, letting people know, hey, guys, this is a small business and we're in the community, and you can come in and do this, this, and this. People were buying into me as the leader, the charismatic guy, the energetic guy. So then I caught on
You
really
had a
quickly.
vision.
What's that?
You had the vision.
At the vision, right? And so, who do people do business with, right? Whether it's employees and customers, the community, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. Once I saw that as a business owner, I'm like, oh, this is what's kind of been my identity over time. And so then I soon realized, I'm like, oh, if I can do this with one employee, right? And then I do this with my community, then I just keep just basically quadrupling down on this, right? And
Mhm.
then keep replacing myself. And then over time, here's the funny thing, Ewan, I didn't have all the answers. And I know this would have drove you crazy if we would have partnered up 10 years ago. You'd be like, what does it look like in 12 months? I don't know, bro. I just know I need to make 60 grand, hire an employee, replace myself, and then we'll learn as we grow.
And that's very important right there to listen to, because it's the uncertainty that will hold most people up. We do not
Yes.
go into situations where we don't know the outcome, and there's no one to hold the hand. That's why entrepreneurship's so hard, right? It's because
So hard.
if in fact this is how you know you're an entrepreneur, is that you don't know what's going to happen in 6 months time, and you still do it anyway. It could
Life
absolutely
story.
bomb and be a disaster, but an entrepreneur does it anyway with the vision and clarity of their North Star as what they're pursuing, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if they fail. That's not on, that's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about, what do I need to do right now to get there? And the whole thing, if you were to play this whole thing back, like, it was, you had a very specific purpose to get to where you needed to go, and
Yes.
you just kept driving. You weren't thinking about 6 months from now. You're just thinking about the macro of, I want to be in the $1 million club. And then once you got there, it's, well, I want to be out. I want to be free, so I can go live my life any way I want to live it. So I'm not working 70 hours in the business.
100%. When I got to the $1 million club, right? And so if somebody's listening to this, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, if I put myself in their shoes, I know they have their 6-month goal, 12-month goal, 18-month goal, 24-month goal, right? We typically do, right? And if we don't, then it's just going to be speed up the process. But here's the problem. When you hit that goal, and I hit that $1 million club, and I was like, oh, cool. I celebrated in 3 hours. I'm like, what's next?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know, right? So
Classic.
I just went back with what I was familiar with. I'm going to go back to selling. I'm going to go back to what I'm good at doing. And so I really didn't have, after that point, there was really no other like North Star. Why am I doing this? Who is the leader I'm becoming? You know, even though I had saw this progress in this first 12, 18, 24 months, you get to a certain point in your business where you're, even with, you know, what we're doing, building up, you know, 2-3 years in and level up and live, is like, there's so many different ways you can go. There's so many variables. There's so many forks in the road. There's so many different opportunities. We're always evolving as human beings. And I think that's why it's so important to make sure that you have the bigger picture, right? And for me, it was always, hey, learning from, I want to be an entrepreneur, right? Reading the E-Myth, understanding myself and what I wanted the business to do for my life. The whole reason I
Yes.
started the business is because, you know, I wanted to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I wanted to be able to come in there, work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours 7 years, right? But at the same time, like I had that like vision of, I want to work on the business and not in it. Well, what does that actually look like? Well,
Mm.
working in it is showing up to the office, being the one that's doing the emails, the you know, talking to the customers. I wanted to systematically remove myself from everything.
Yes.
Okay? So once I understood that, Ewan, I was like, well, what do I need to do? And then the second question is, who do I need to become to work 30 minutes a week on my business?
That's
Right?
the real kicker, the real
And that was
key.
the real kicker. So that's the rabbit hole I went down. And that's why I've been so obsessed with becoming the best version of myself, the optimal version of myself, because my business, my employees, and everybody around me, I'm the bottleneck, right?
Mm.
We are the average of the 5 people we hang around. That can go for your employees, that can go for your community, that can go for your partnership, whatever it may be. So who is growing in the business? Everybody's looking up to you, right? And if you're not growing as a business owner, and this is what I learned within that time span, that probably 3 to 5 years, where I was like, "Oh, I'm the problem. It's me. I'm the problem."
Yeah.
Right? And so that's when I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, "Dude, if I can systematically remove myself, have the systems and processes, and then find the roles that each of these individuals sit in, that love to do what they do and
Yes.
show up for a bigger vision and purpose, that a
I
bigger
want to
cause."
just say something there. We had the crawfish ball for your and 30 plus people, all your employees and your business associates, partner. We're all there, and everyone was so happy. Like,
Yeah.
everyone loved to be there. They were part of a family, not a business. They were part of a family, and you had built that, right, because each position that they were in was the position that you have created this space for them to step in and be doing something that they love. They love it. They're talking about it at the crawfish ball, the thing that their job. They were like talking about like how to get better, like what they could do here and what they could do there, and plus all the other things you talked about. But they love to be there. Imagine, listening to this, if your business isn't exactly where you want it to be right now, or you don't have the people that maybe you got some turnover. Sean just said it. He was the bottleneck, and he worked on himself so hard that now the people that he has in the places that they're there because he realized he was the bottleneck and did something about it. He did the hard work.
Yes.
And now those people, because of what he did, the work on himself, now he has people working in the business that love to do what it is that they do. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's weird. It's
It
bizarre.
is.
You got a bunch of happy people doing jobs that they like and are enjoying being there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And you I only have to check in 30 minutes a week. This is not normal. This is not what you're supposed to be slaving away, grinding and all the things and arguing with, trying not to pay people and whatever. Like, it's just such a beautiful thing, and it's available to everybody. And they just, if you don't believe that's true, then you're the bottleneck. You're the bottleneck.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's the
yeah.
key.
Yeah, no, it 100% is, because that's when I realized that in the 5 years, then I was like, oh man, I just need to repeat. This is replicatable, right? And so I can go build other businesses as an entrepreneur and do this, and then it's not just for selfish reasons, right? It's a win-win. We're creating a win-win-win, right? For the community, we're creating a product and a service for our customers. They actually freaking love doing business with us because
Mm.
people do business with who they know, like, and trust. That's a win. Okay. The second thing is, the employees, our team members, the people that come and work for us, not only are they getting mentorship, but they also love what they do because
Yeah.
it's the bigger cause. They're not just coming for a paycheck, right?
Who would
Yes,
want to
money's
leave that situation?
what's that?
Who would want to leave that situation?
100%,
No
right? And the
turnover.
the only reason we got there, is because I worked harder on myself than anything else. And I was able to do that by bringing on my first employee, my second employee, my third, my fourth, my fifth, my sixth. By bringing on these individuals, I had to grow as a leader, and I had to do that by working on the business, working on myself, right? So I wasn't the bottleneck. Where I have seen most business owners fail and most business owners throw in the towel is because they are not working harder on themselves, aka working on the business. They're working in it. It's a recipe for disaster. It's a ticking
Yeah.
time bomb.
Yeah, man. And you've not just done it in the insurance business, you've done it in other businesses. And even more importantly, you've helped other people, other business owners do it in their business. I've watched it
Yes.
firsthand. I've watched it in real time. Multiple people you've taught them how to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
amazing.
and I'll share the story. I know we're wrapping up on time, but I was helping a coaching individual, and he had been about, I guess it was about 6 to 7 years in business. And so I'd always known this individual, owned a landscape company. And one of the things that I had always saw from a third party standpoint was from a coaching aspect, because he was a coachee, was, brother, you're doing all the office stuff. You're doing the emails, you're doing the phone calls, you're answering all these things. Stick with what you're good at. And he was good at operations. He was good, shaking the hands with the customers. And that's
Mm,
what he enjoyed doing, right?
yeah.
And so I was like, how do you do more of that? And it came down to replacing himself with an office manager. And so we put together a 30-day plan on what exactly he needed to do every single week in that 30 days to hire his office manager. We sat down for 30 minutes to 60 minutes every single week, and he was taking mini action steps every single week on Friday, and he was giving me progress reports. And then in that 30 days, he hired his first office manager, came in as full time, and she was a blessing in disguise. Had been with him for
How did he show up? What was he like when
oh,
he
dude, it was like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. The smile was as big
mm,
as from
the
ear to
butterflies
ear.
we were talking about?
Butterflies, and he was able to go and do the things that he enjoyed doing, which was being out in the field with his guys, leading his team, and aligning it with more of operations than the office admin stuff, because that was draining him. And then for the longest time, until they sold the company, he had the same office manager. And so it was just a beautiful thing beautiful thing to witness.
So cool, man. Yeah, it's available to everybody,
That's
and
right.
and it's magical. I think it could save a lot of lives. Like, mentally, people get to live their lives and not working in their business, spending their lives grueling it out. They get to work on it and live their life, right? Because if you're working on your business, you get to go live. That's what the business is supposed to do. It's supposed to
Yes,
set you free. It's supposed to. That's what people start it for. Is to. And when you're not saying you don't. You could work in your business anytime you like, but you have the
sure,
option. You have the
100%.
option. At
I
least get
well, and
yourself
that's
the option.
and the funny thing is, you end up getting to that place. You're like, well, I actually want to do it, because
Yeah, you want to be
like, I
there.
miss
That's
it. I
brilliant.
tell my team members all the time, like, well, I kind of miss doing that.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
it's
but I think
amazing.
that's the key ingredient is thinking that way and systematically, and it's doable for anybody listening to this, right? It's like manifesting, painting that picture is like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want to feel like? What do you want to smell like? Do you want to work out 12 hours a day? Cool. Work out 12 hours a day, right? You're going to show up. I guarantee you, when you have that mentality of, hey, I'm working harder on my business, because I find myself at 4 a.m. or in the evening time. But here's the thing. Here's the key ingredient. I have the choice. I have the decision, the
Yeah.
choice to work on the business because I put in all the micro commitments and the working along the way to work harder on myself so I could work on the business. And now, this is the final thought, bro. Once you work on the business as a business owner and you spin that, so you're in the business right now working 95% of it, you're doing all the work, then you spin that to the entrepreneur that's working on the business and working 30 minutes a week, bro, everything just explodes.
Explodes. Hockey stick. Has to.
Hockey across all areas of life, as long as you choose and you're intentional about it, right? I can't
Mm.
speak for everybody. That's what it's done for me, is been able to do the things that I want to do with who I want to do, where I want to do, and on my terms, you know?
Yeah, go check out the episode where Sean vacations 12 times a year. That's not hype.
France in June, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, France in June, baby.
But don't get me wrong, though. It's not all rainbows and sunshines, right?
Got to
I
work.
still face obstacles,
Yeah.
challenges. You know, people see this stuff on social media and all these other things, you know, and what really goes on behind the scenes. And I try to share that with struggles and obstacles and, you know, with podcasts and people that I know that know me in my life. Like, man, it's like it all takes hard work, but it starts with a person that you stare in the mirror and it's yourself, right?
And those are problems you want to be working on. Yeah,
100%.
that you enjoy those. The alternative problem you could be working on is filling out a spreadsheet, doing all the office work
Exactly.
yourself. You want to be doing that for the rest of your life, or be working on bigger problems that are excelling your business.
Yes, it's so true. And then, man, I'm sitting here thinking about somebody that's sitting there like, well, I got to do it. I got to make it doing. You're right. Okay, so we both have the same amount of time during the day. We have 24 hours in the day. What's the separator? I chose to take 5 minutes out of my day to work a little bit on the business, not 24/7.
Yeah.
And then you take that 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to work on the business, to work on yourself. And see, that was the pivotal moment of that technician, manager, and entrepreneur. I was all technician. Then it transitioned from technician to manager. Then it transitioned from replacing myself as the manager, having a hiring manager, having a team leader, to entrepreneur. And that is a beautiful place where you can design the life that you want to live. It still takes hard work,
Yes.
but I've only done it because I've worked harder on myself to grow the individuals that are on my team, the people that come in my community. And it's a beautiful place to be.
And last thought on that is to go back to the start. What did you do? You got a mentor. He told you what you needed to do. He helped you get through it. And you just said it a few minutes ago yourself. You had a guy come to you, business owner, within 30 days, a plan executed because he came to you. And that is available to everybody who's listening.
Yes.
Come talk to Sean, and we'll do the
Accountability,
same
baby.
thing for you. Yep,
We
we're
will
working
get
on
you
some
to where
things.
you want to be. Rest
Yes,
assured. I can assure you, baby. Let's
live your
go.
life. Yes. On
Level up
that
and
note,
live.
level up and live, baby.